Hi everyone, and welcome to Garden to Kitchen. This morning we're going to be looking at potatoes in barrels, and I'm talking about early potatoes in the month of April. I have in front of me about a 15-gallon bucket that we're going to be using, not unlike the one that we had last year. This one here is, I believe it's a 7-gallon. And it worked really well, and you perhaps saw the harvest coming from this particular bucket. But this year we're going to change the size of the bucket. This one here is a little larger, as I mentioned, and it has pre-drilled holes in it. It's all ready to go, and we're going to be adding some soil. Now, what kind of potatoes are we going to be putting in the bucket? Well, I have some potatoes here that are an early mid-season variety, and they are the Ivory Russet potatoes. And hopefully you can see them from there. They're a light colored russet, a little on the smaller side. They were developed in the Netherlands and recently grown and tested in New Brunswick about 6 years ago. So they've been in Canada for about 6 years, available to the general public. And these are the ones that I'm going to be using. I've allowed them to chit, which means they have all these little green spuds coming out, which means that they are ready to be potted up into a pot and ready to start growing. And of course, the whole idea behind this is to have potatoes for the month of July. And what we're going to do is we're going to germinate the seeds in the basement, put them in my window over there where they have a little bit of sunlight, and then from that point on we'll let them grow, and when the weather warms up we'll move them outside. So let's put these aside. We'll take the barrel up here and we'll start putting some soil in it. So once again, we have our holes. We have lots of holes drilled in the bottom, which is very important for drainage. So let's get started with some of the soil. I've been using a Miracle-Gro potting soil. One reason is because the earth here is frozen solid here in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. It's really cold outside. It's about zero, it's about freezing, and of course the soil is rock solid. So I have this beautiful potting soil that I'm going to be using. So mixed it up a little bit. I'm not going to wet it too much because I am going to water it afterwards. So let's get a bit of soil in the larger bucket. So I'm going to put in probably about 4 inches of soil. Let's see if that's enough or not. You can see here. All right, let's add a bit more. All right. There, that's not too bad. Maybe just a little bit more here, and we're good to go. All right. All right, so as you can see here, I'll just tip it so you can see it. We have about 4 inches of soil in the bottom, and we're going to put our potatoes in the bucket. So let's get the potatoes out here. As I mentioned, they're already chitted, and you can see the beautiful chits on them. I'm going to push them in just a little bit, and I'm going to spread them out evenly. Let's take a look at that now. All right, this is really exciting because we're going to have potatoes in July. Now I'm going to tilt this again so you can see it. Look at the potatoes. There's 4 in there, lots of chits, and they're ready to be covered. So I'm going to be covering them up, and then I'll water them, and we'll get them growing. So let's add a bit more soil on top. That's all you can do. This is really easy. You can do this at home in a smaller bucket. You don't need a bigger bucket like this one. This one I like because it has handles. And I'm going to be adding more soil. Well, it'll make it heavier, but however, once they start to grow a bit, I'll be able to pick it up and move it outside when it's a bit warmer, so I'll be able to add more soil and get it growing outdoors. So here I'm going to show you. There it is right there. And the potatoes are all covered. I'm going to water them in and it'll start to grow. So once again, these are ivory russet potatoes from the Netherlands, and they've been in Canada for about 6 years. So it's my first time growing them, so I'm kind of anxious to see how they're going to produce for the month of July. And now that we have the potatoes covered up with soil, I'm going to be watering them in, and I'm going to place them in my window up here where there's some light. And or I might just put them on the basement floor. If you don't have a window like that, just put them in an area where they can start to germinate above the soil and start to grow. You don't need any light until the leaves start to appear. And once the leaves start to appear, I usually put them under the edge of my grow lights over here, or as I mentioned, in my window, or in a window upstairs where it's nice and bright. And it's not too long before the weather warms up and I'm able to carry this outside and start adding more soil. As the plant keeps growing upwards, we're going to continue to add soil. I may be able to do some of that in the basement here before it gets outdoors. So keep track of this particular project. Check in with me later on, because we're going to have an update as the plant starts to grow out of this particular container. So once again, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that button on the bottom right hand corner, and don't forget to send this off to your family, friends, and neighbors by your favorite social media. And if you like it, and don't forget to comment. So once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.